Only a few days after Olympic 800-meter champion David Rudisha voiced his concerns about the negative impact doping has on the image of athletics, Kenyan runners Viola Kimeto and Joyce Kiplimo have been handed 2-year bans after both failed drug tests. Kimeto, seen here finishing third in the Athens Marathon in Greece in 2012, failed a urine drugs test at the Macau Marathon in December last year. Her compatriot Kiplimo failed her test at the Yangzhou Half Marathon in China last April. Boston and Chicago Marathon winner Rita Jeptu is the highest-profile Kenyan athlete to fail a doping test this year. And we're now joined by athletics journalist Elias Makori, who is based in Kenya. Elias, give us your reaction to the bans handed to Kimeto and Kiplimo.
Yeah, actually, it's really devastating for Kenyan athletics because lately there's been a lot of issues coming out of the doping problems. The most high-profile case, of course, being that one of Rita Jepto, the Chicago Marathon champion. And it's come at a time when Athletics Kenya are really under fire for doing very, very little, absolutely nothing at all, to help in the fighting against doping. So it really has come at the worst time for Kenyan athletics, and it's going to be interesting to see how the sport is going to lift itself from here.
Now, the World Anti-Doping Authority would also point to a lack of blood testing facilities in the country, which is why athletes slip through the net. Is this a fair assessment?
Yeah, it is a fair assessment. Kenya has been sleeping for many years in regard to the fight against doping. Nothing has been done, and WADA is really absolutely spot on in their fight, to wake up the Kenyan authorities. The IAAF, the International Association of Athletics Federation, have already indicated that they're going to set up laboratories in Nairobi, in Kenya, for the testing of urine samples. This is a good step towards, more stringent, more severe, more intense, tests against doping in Kenya. And we hope in a couple of years' time, by the end of next year, getting into 2016, we'll see a lot of change in terms of what has been done on the ground, the structures to fight against doping, because it really needs to start from scratch. The labs, being set up, the testing being set up, and also education of the athletes, which is the most important in my opinion. Many of the Kenyan athletes are naive. They really don't know what medication to take, what not to take, what to buy over the counter, what not to buy, which will constitute to being banned substances. So really, education is what the athletes need now.
Elias, Athletics Kenya says it's also investigating 5 other athletes. Do you have any indication who they might be?
Well, they've said they're investigating. They did come up with the two that we mentioned earlier, Viola and Joyce. Then there's also Rita Jepto. I think she's one of the people in this list, but that is just waiting for the B sample. Of course, A sample testing positive for EPO. The B sample should be out in the next couple of days by December 18th. And of course, many people are saying that it is likely going to be another positive. So she's facing a massive ban, which will be a huge, huge blow to a great career. There is another athlete called Philip Kandie. He's a 1:04 half marathon runner. He's also in the crosshairs of the federation. They're investigating him, and already he's under suspension as we speak. And people are saying there are more names coming up. There'll be more names coming up. We're all waiting to hear who are these names and what sanctions are going to be taken.
It's not just Kenya that has this problem. There are allegations of systematic doping in Europe too. How damaging is this for athletics, just a year and a half away from the Rio Olympics?
Well, it's very damaging to Kenyan athletics, especially the fact that one of the big in Kenyan athletics, that is Rita Jepto, who won the Chicago Marathon, who won the World Marathon majors. Prize money, of course, our prize has been put on hold because of a positive test. It is a huge, huge blow, and everybody is taking it seriously now because WADA had indicated in a meeting with earlier this year that they're going to crack down very hard on the Kenyan athletes, as they did with the Jamaicans. And it's really beginning to be felt the athletes are lobbying, rallying themselves together and taking the issue of doping more seriously. So I must say it's a huge blow ahead of the build up to Rio, which effectively starts championship in Beijing next year.
Okay, Elias, Makori, thanks for speaking to Sports News Africa.